Welcome to Beyond the Money with Jackie Campbell. Jackie is a certified financial planner, CPA, personal financial specialist, and founding partner of Campbell Company Wealth Advisors and CPAs.
I'm always a firm believer that prior planning pays, and you're never going to get to something if you don't even know where you're at and what path you need to take to get there.
Get more at mycampbellandco.com. Now, because there's more to life than just finances, let's go beyond the money.
And we invite you to reach out at any time this weekend, 352-251-1015. We're always available at mycampbellandco.com. Welcome out to the Beyond the Money radio show and the Beyond the Money podcast. My name is Mark Owens. Jackie Campbell, I hope this weekend is treating you well.
It is. I can't complain. It's my mom's birthday month, and she likes to celebrate all month long, and that's where I got it from.
That's where you get it from. What's the highlight? What's the big event to celebrate Mom's birthday? Is it a dinner or a cookout or just time with the grandkids?
Oh, definitely time with the great grandkids, right? That's pretty important to her and pretty special. So it's just so great to actually see the interaction between the two of them. And they call her Ma. I don't know where that came from, but it's so funny how kids just pick their own names for your grandparents.
Yep. What's your name as Grandma? It is
Mimi Jackie.
Mm-hmm. And Scott, your husband, is
Papa. Yes, and Drew did tell him the other day that Papa, you're my best friend. So that has been his mission for 4 years, and he achieved that. So,
and Scott's like, whatever you want. You want a unicorn, you want a car, whatever you want. You want a pony, everything is yours.
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right, always celebrating the confetti moments with Jackie Campbell and the team at Campbell Company. Jackie, we got a fascinating call, a radio listener, recently, and I kind of wanted to break down, obviously, no names will be told here, but what she had to say really got me thinking, because she said, look, I'm divorced, but I'm still very close to my husband. He has an incredible 401k, and I'm not calling for me per se, but I'm calling for him because I know he won't pick up the phone and call you. And she said, I want to make sure that the kids and the grandkids are taken care of, that we have a plan put in place. So what's my next step? And my first thought was, is that often? Because we talk about gray divorce, and anytime we bring this conversation up, Jackie, it's always kind of negative, and it's kind of a hard conversation. It's not a fun conversation. But in this situation, gray divorce, but they're obviously still tight, and she's still trying to take care of him and the kids and the grandkids.
Yeah, it happens, and I think that's great, especially if there's children involved. I think it's great if you can keep a good relationship after being married so many years and still, I may love you, I may care a lot about you, but that doesn't mean I can live with you, and typically
Right.
Money's going to be at the root of that somewhere in that path. But you're right. I love it when we get calls like that. You can't divulge information, and obviously she can't do the work for him, coming into for the consulting and the actual planning. But it's good that you have somebody that's going to kind of help phone a friend for you every now and then, just to make sure that you get on a good path. And sometimes it's just about having somebody else, because we listen to third parties sometimes a little bit better than we listen to those who we love and care about the most. So.
Yeah. You said a funny phrase right there. You said, look, I like you. No, wait, what is it my wife says all the time? I love you. I just don't like you right now. But let's talk about that for a second, Jackie, about when a couple, they're still together. How hard is it to get them both on the same page? Because this young lady, obviously, they had to go their separate ways for whatever reason. But what about the couples that need to be on the same page moving into and through retirement?
I mean, I've had the privilege, right, for 3 decades to watch couples and how they interact, and it's really interesting. There's some that are just very, lockstep, right? It's just perfect alignment in their spending, their budget, what they're going to do in retirement, how just everything, their purpose, their passions, and then you have some that they're completely different books, completely not even chapters different. I'm talking books different, and I think it's like the first time they really and truly are honest and have some of those conversations. And it's true. I was talking with a young married couple the other day, and I said, one of the most important things, they said, well, we don't like to talk about money. And I'm like, you need to figure that out. That's going to be a lifelong challenge and one of the greatest things. And, when you're married with children, that even gets a little bit more complicated, especially with the finances and how that's going to look as you go forward through those decades. So having that same page conversation early, I think is extremely important. Probably more valuable than most give credit for.
Yeah, how often do you find that? I know, like in my family with my wife Gretchen, she's the CFO of the family. She deals with all the bills. She knows when everything's timed out, the auto pay, when to drop this check, when to drop this amount, and God love her for doing that. Now, I handle some of the big picture stuff, but I would say 99.9% of it falls on her. So how important is it for both members of a relationship when you're putting a plan together to be on the same page when somebody says, you know what? My wife takes care of that, or my husband takes care of that. Jackie, I'll just let you talk to them. Can that cause damage?
Well, it's short-term pain, long-term pain, right? I love these little analogies that I have picked up from years ago. And you're right, for the short term, that can be easier, right? Path of least resistance. He's going to make the decision. She's going to make the decision anyway. Let her handle that. And that's fine to give the credibility and let them take the lead on certain things. But at the end of the day, I've seen where spouses don't want to have anything to do with their finances, their tax planning, where their assets are held. But then when something happens to that CFO in the family, they're in a big scenario of, I have no idea what's really going on. And typically it's going to be the accountant, the CFO of the family, I call them, but maybe an engineer, right? They're going to have their spreadsheets. They're going to have all their passwords really documented. There's going to be some scenarios like that, but I have others that the spouse can't get into the cell phone. They can't get into the laptop. They don't have any idea where passwords are. And let's face it, it's with the technology that we have today, our documents, our access to our financial lives are just like our photos. They're on our cell phone, they're on a tablet, they're on a laptop, they're in the cloud, they're in scrapbooks and photo albums that we might have in a closet stored somewhere. They are all over the place. And if you're married, that's times two. So it is important, extremely important, for you to get on the same page, have that My Win file, have the Guarding Your Legacy checklist prepared for the non-CFO in the family. And, sooner or later, you're going to need to find out that information to be super organized, and you're going to have decisions to make. And Mark, I've been blessed with so many great relationships with clients. The engineer in the family, they're like, I can do this, I'm comfortable, but I really need to bring you in to our family so that you can help when I'm no longer able to do these things. And that is the beginning of many of our long-term relationships. It's for that specific reason, to help the spouse that doesn't want to deal with the money, the finances, the tax planning, any of it. So they just really just shut down to it and completely give trust to that other spouse, which is admirable, but sooner or later you pay the piper on that. And the sooner you can get at least access to where that information is and have someone that's going to help be that successor CFO. And if this is ringing true, whether it's the person that called in about their ex-husband and worried about, how that's going to play out with an estate plan and tax plan and for the children and grandchildren for her ex-husband, or it's you and your current situation, your marriage, your relationship, your significant other, your family members, even your parents, give us a call, 352-251-1015. Let's see how we can get something started before it's too late. It can all start with the Guarding Your Legacy checklist, which we offer complimentary. That's something that we created years ago. And it's just a checklist. Do we have one of these? Do we have one of these accounts? Do we have insurance? Where is it located? So that can at least be a roadmap to help you when that person isn't there. So give us a call, 352-251-1015, or online at mycampbellandco.com.
I love that you call it the same page. The importance of both members of a relationship being on the same page. And just for 30 seconds, tell me again about the My Win file that you offer all couples as you're building this 360-degree retirement roadmap.
Yeah, for our clients that become wealth management clients, we do offer this book that I came up with years ago, and it's a 3-ring binder, just because that's a good old-fashioned way to do things. And when you have hurricanes and things in Florida, you can take it with you. It's portable, but small enough to put it in a really secure, safe place. But it's just about going through and making sure that you've got the checklist and where your passwords are, where your bill paying is, where do you keep your money, what is your net worth, where are your assets, where are your insurance policies? How do you take care of your vet, your pets? Who is the vet? Who is the dentist? All those things that if you have memory issues or you have health issues or if you pass away, that you're going to really and truly be tying things up with a bow for those that you love and care about the most. And we call it the My Win file. That is just something that I've collected through the years from all the decades working with clients and over 30 years of experience, and a lot of it hard-won wisdom from myself, from my family, and from all the clients that I've worked with. And my mom was really inspirational in helping me get that book done as well. She was that's the kind of the way she kept all her papers. And when my dad was sick, and I was just reflecting on that. And that was the one thing that I committed to doing and putting together that and writing a book about it, being prepared, feeling prepared, creating peace of mind for you and your loved ones.
For more information about the My Win file and to speak with Jackie Campbell and the team at Campbell Company, we invite you to reach out 352-251-1015. Again, 352-251-1015. We have a representative standing by right now and throughout the weekend. Or you can always visit the team online at mycampbellandco.com. From the homepage, you can shoot the team a note, or you can schedule that initial no-cost, no-obligation consultation. Again, mycampbellandco.com, and multiple locations across the Nature Coast to meet you at a time and a place that fits your schedule. All right, Jackie, let's talk about income here for a second, because income is the outcome that matters the most in retirement. And there was a recent AARP survey that found that 88% of adults over the age of 50 say that Social Security is important for a financially secure retirement. I want you to hear this clip from Marilyn Jones. She's 87. She's retired. She's living in Vegas.
Social Security became something that I relied on. I have a small savings account and I have a very small stock portfolio. I think that's too glamorous to call it a portfolio. Social Security has helped me a lot. Almost $1,800 of my Social Security goes for utilities. People my age look forward to the years when you can retire and you've paid into this fund that's supposed to take care of you in later years.
What's your takeaway from Marilyn Jones?
I think she's spot on, and I think many people retire and Social Security is their only guaranteed mailbox money, and that's what's it going to be in a few years. And I just had this conversation, and it was multiple generations of family and their child that I was actually doing some planning with, and we were talking about how you're in your 30s, you might as well just not even plan for your Social Security to be in your financial picture, and hopefully it will be. But what is going to happen in the next few years? Are we truly going to continue that 100%, or is it going to be 80%? What does that look like? So a lot TBD, to be determined there. But having the ability to have that guaranteed income, I mean, that's part of some of the happiest people that I talk to that are successfully retired. They have that guaranteed income stream, and it's predictable, it's reliable, and that's typically, if you don't have a pension, you're going to want to keep building that foundation so that you can have that reliable guaranteed income stream. Because you said something at the very beginning of this conversation. It's not what you make, it's what you get to keep after taxes. So that's certainly part of the equation as well. But, knowing that you're going to have money coming in that next month. So if you overspend or some big expense comes up, a car repair, maybe an air conditioning or something like that, we can't live without in Florida or Georgia either. But just making sure that you're going to have that extra cash flow coming in. And, if you don't have a pension, maybe we need to have that conversation as well. Don't just solely rely on Social Security income, and create these other retirement guaranteed, sustainable, predictable incomes that you're not going to outlive. And if you already have a pension or multiple pensions or multiple streams of income, then you're probably on a really good path. But I would say always let's test that. I like to have my guaranteed income to be about 80% of your spending needs every month. So if you're spending $50,000 a year, you're going to want about $40,000 of guaranteed income coming in as part of that foundation, so that no matter what happens in the market, if your investments are down, you don't have to worry about taking from them. You don't have to worry about that additional risk that comes into play when you're in retirement called sequence of returns risk. So longevity risk is another one that you kind of get to help ease that burden on. But I kind of went the long way around to say that Social Security is important for so many individuals and couples, and knowing when to take it, because there's so many different options. You can start claiming it as early as age 62 up to age 70. So it depends on how many years you've been working, what your benefits are, and exactly, are you going to keep working up till full retirement age, which is 67 years of age for most people? And what is the best income stream? But Mark, if you're going to retire early, you better be doing your Social Security maximization plan, because that can be a really, really important key to bridging that early retirement gap.
Jackie, about a year ago, there was a lot of conversations about Social Security and benefits being reduced over the next 7, 8, 10 years. It feels like the conversation's died down just a little bit. Is it still a big conversation piece with the families you serve? Is it still a major concern with adults to and through retirement?
It's still a very big conversation. A lot of people do, say that when they're doing planning or plan refresh. I don't know how long this is going to last, but, I see some that get really great benefits, $4,000 a month because of, they've worked many years, had really good pay through the years, and, waited and delayed it to age 70. So, definitely some strategic planning involved in that. But, with that cost of living that goes up, and we've had some great cost of living, both on the spending part and the Social Security benefits. So knowing your number, I think, is really important. No matter how old you are, I would say when you're in your 50s, you should definitely be setting up an account at ssa.gov and understanding what your benefits are, and also check it for accuracy. You will have to authenticate through ID.me, which we all have to do for our driver's license and so many other government reasons now. But it's a pretty seamless process, and you can kind of keep your finger on the pulse, because they don't send out statements anymore like they used to several years ago. So everything is becoming a little bit more and more online and do it yourself. So ssa.gov to get your numbers and keep track of that.
Speaking of knowing your number, here's a number to know right now: 352-251-1015. That's how you reach out and begin the conversation with Jackie and the team at Campbell Company Wealth Advisors and CPAs. And again, this weekend, if you've saved at least $500,000 or more for your financial future, that initial consultation, that 360-degree retirement roadmap, it's no cost, it's no obligation. 352-251-1015, or always online. You can meet the team. You can schedule that consultation. You can hear the Beyond the Money podcast from the homepage at mycampbellandco.com. And speaking of income and retirement and windfall money, how about the lottery this week, getting up over $1 billion?
Yeah, I think it was like 1.3 something last I heard, and I don't know did anybody win? I didn't even hear if anybody won this week or not.
As of the time, when we're recording this right now, nobody's won it yet, and everybody's dreaming, Jackie. What do I do? Not if. Everybody has the same thought. When I win, what am I going to do?
Yeah, well, it's a great thing to dream. And as most people tell me, that you have to buy the ticket to even have a chance to win, right? So
right.
That's the first step. But when it gets to be such a large jackpot, I do kind of hear that there's more and more that, hey, what's $20? I buy a couple cups of coffee, and don't even know where that money went. So I might as well take a chance to see if I can win some large sum. And somebody told me the other day, they're like, I don't need $1 billion. I just give me 10, 20 million. I'm fine. Yeah. I'm fine with that. But if you do have a large windfall, maybe it's going to be a jackpot with the lottery. We've been fortunate and had the pleasure to work with some winners of lottery and other state winners. But it's interesting. It's a totally different plan, right? You have to take whatever your plan was and what is it going to be. There's going to be a pretty large tax bill. My rule of thumb is to give us a call. go through like, hey, what are some key steps that I need to be aware of before I go and claim that jackpot? Do you want it to be confidential? Sometimes it has to be public information. So you probably want to keep that as quiet as you possibly can and, not scream from the rooftop, so to speak.
Yep.
But, maybe having some tax planning, some strategic tax planning, some legal representation on the front end, just to make sure, especially if it's a really large sum of money. And I would say a large sum of money being probably more than $5 million. In that scenario. But, there's going to be some extra taxes. So get on top of that right up front before you spend it and give it away and don't have anything left to pay Uncle Sam at tax time. So, and doing some strategic planning can also be really, really an important key to that. But maybe it's not the lottery. I mean, that would be great. And make sure, Mark, give me a call. You've got my number, right? So give me a call if you do hit that or find that your numbers match to the winning numbers. But it could be an inheritance. It could be someone that was injured in a car accident. It can be other things that is going to be more of a windfall. I've had many of our baby boomers and now even Gen Xers that have spent their careers working for companies. They have retirements, they have pensions, and they're given their, hey, come into my office. Yeah. And, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to finish out your 30th year. You're not going to be able to work till 35 years, what you had planned. We're going to offer you a severance package. But if you have something like that, any other potential windfall that could come in that's going to be a main game changer for you and your financial life and your retirement plan, give us a call, 352-251-1015. The earlier that you can, kind of hit that head on, be intentional, get clarity, and get that non-emotional feedback on that, I think that can be really, really important for your long-term impact, because you want to get as much as you possibly can and keep as much of any windfall that you have in your life. And make sure that you're going to be able to make that decision, have confidence in the decision that you're making to separate early or to retire early. And sometimes it's by choice, and sometimes we have no decision other than to accept some of those things and figure out how we're going to navigate moving forward. But, there's a lot of emotional component to that, not just the numbers. And that's why we call our show Beyond the Money. It's really and truly about all of that and getting the clarity, the confidence, and the direction on what to do if and when those windfalls or those life changes come about. And give us a call, 352-251-1015, or online at mycampbellandco.com and see how we can help.
I always say that, if I were to win a massive windfall lottery, the first thing I'm doing, I was going to church. I'm going to sit down in the front row. I'm going to drop to my knees and say, all right, everything's about to change. And my whole world is about to go upside down. Keep me humble. Keep me strong. Let's go. And then, Jackie, if you see me call, then you know something good is happening.
So I'll be second on the list, right?
That
makes sense.
Yeah. God, then Jackie Campbell. So just underneath that, 352-251-1015 or mycampbellandco.com. Again, from the homepage, you can meet the team. You can schedule that consultation. And again, 3 convenient locations. And multiple locations of Campbell Company across the Nature Coast. They can meet you at a time and a place that fits your schedule. You can get all that information, again, from the homepage at mycampbellandco.com. And also, you can stream the Beyond the Money podcast. And Jackie Campbell, you also have a sub-podcast as well. It's called Beyond the Badge. It's with you and your husband, Scott Campbell. Tell me a little bit about Beyond the Badge.
Yeah, so we started doing that. Coming from a law enforcement family, Scott and I started dating in high school, so I've been there his whole career. And being a first responder, I mean, it's different for the one that does that position. I mean, gosh, the things that they witness and go through and see and hear is probably more than anyone else can take, especially repeatedly. But we just started doing a podcast. I just thought it was such an important story to share of what happens beyond the badge, because many times the first responders are going to retire in their 50s. And what's next? What is their second act? Many of them go into consulting. They create their own business. A lot of them retire and just enjoy retiring, traveling, hunting, fishing, spending time with family, farming. I just see all these different things that happen, and I really enjoy those conversations. I kind of took them for granted for over 30 years when Scott worked in law enforcement, but now that he works with us, I just see things from a different perspective, and I just want to give them, some tribute, thank you, and we have sheriffs that are going to be on, have been on. We've got some military and also law enforcement officers. So kind of keeping that family tradition going as we move forward. My nephew is now a fireman, and it's just and his mom and dad are in law enforcement. So it's just kind of either you're on one side of the law or the other in our family.
That's a heck of a way to define it. Well, speaking of great guests, recently you had Christian mental health counselor Lisa Gunther sit down with you and Scott Campbell on the Beyond the Badge podcast, and she details how to deal with the stressful moments in your life, how they can be dangerous. And I want you to hear a little clip from this conversation. Here he is. Excuse me. Here she is talking about how to handle life when it gets dangerously stressful.
There's part of us that we want to try to help or fix something. So nowadays, it used to be back in the day, you only knew the problems in your town. But nowadays, we know the problems all over the world, and there's nothing we could do about them. So it gives us this sense of helplessness and hopelessness, so that actually can affect people.
I need simple 1, 2, 3. So if you have a 1, 2, 3, what would that be?
Pay attention. Just stop, close your eyes, and just pay attention to your body. And you could even set a timer on your phone a few times a day just to check in and where am I at. And it could be the simple things. I need a drink. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to have a snack. People don't even pay attention to that, right? So that would be good. And then when stressed, do the discharge. Even if you're trapped in a meeting, you could wiggle your foot. So even if you had not had that option and you were in your car as an officer, you could have, wiggle your foot. It still helps, but again, if it's a bigger thing, if you could do a bigger movement, it's better. But some movement's better than no movement. And then choose your stress, that you do have an option. If I'm looking at that, every stressor can have a cost. Let me pick and choose and not allow silly things to stress me out.
Mm-hmm. A very short clip from Jackie and Scott's conversation with Christian mental health counselor Lisa Gunther. And Jackie, what was so impressive or enlightening, I guess is the right word, with this conversation is your husband, Scott, really opened up to Lisa about what he experienced being an LEO, being on the road, being these stressful moments. And I think that was interesting to see him kind of expose himself some.
Yeah, well, she was our neighbor and has been a friend for many years, so she's kind of seen things up close when he was working. And, everybody needs a Lisa in their life, so I would encourage you, if you are looking for a counselor, definitely, reach out to us, and we can certainly put you in contact with her or someone else reputable in our area. But, just having someone that can just truly listen to you and give you good feedback, not just, demean it or, downplay things. They truly see some crazy things. And, some of them I kind of don't like to listen to, just like the daily news. And, it's like I thank God for people that will run towards the danger and towards the blue lights. And, I'm kind of taught, like everybody else, kind of go the opposite direction. So it takes a special person, I think, to do any kind of first response. And also, for Lisa, she sees and hears and has to filter through a lot for herself. So I loved in that podcast how she talked about how she deals with some of the, kind of letting things go. And, prayer has a big part of that. But just like, I don't know about you, Mark, but I was moving my foot when she was talking about that just then. So it's just important that we get so caught up in technology that it's just information overload. Like I finally was listening to music driving home one day, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't think I've listened to a true music radio station in such a long time, because there's just constant, phone calls and people you got to call back, and or if you're driving with someone, you've got conversation going on. So it's just, we forget just how simple life used to be. And even talking with my nieces and nephew the other day, we were so fortunate growing up because we didn't have the cameras and we didn't have the videos and we didn't have the social media tracking our every single move. And, and she's right. We knew what was going on in our small hometown, and we had to actually read the newspaper to get stock quotes. Every single thing was so different 30, 40 years ago than it is today. But, we just need to kind of check ourselves and, are we breathing the right way? Are we drinking water? Are we moving our bodies, and how are we holding on to this stress? Because our bodies hold on to stress different than our minds. Our mind can dismiss it, but our bodies kind of know when there's a red warning going on.
Yeah, and you hear that conversation in its entirety with Lisa Gunther. We invite you to check out the Beyond the Badge podcast. You can find it across all podcast platforms. It's commercial-free, really solid information about dealing with stress with Jackie Campbell, Scott Campbell, and Lisa Gunther. Again, you can find it across all podcast platforms or at the homepage at mycampbellandco.com.
But, we talked about first responders and how we, as every human being, even young kids, are dealing with the extra stress that's going on in today's world with the technology and just, good and bad information coming at us so rapidly. But when you go into those major life stressors, those next, milestones of retirement, gosh, and certain big birthdays, I mean, I got a big birthday coming up, Mark, and it's kind of really, really kind of hard to deal with every time I think about that. But what a blessing.
Not easy. It is a big year. 21 years old, Jackie Campbell. We're proud of you.
Yeah, 21 times a couple multiplier. But but it's different crossroads, right? Because you have different decisions. Even if you're going to continue working, if you're an entrepreneur, you just some people just have to keep their minds working. They're going to, even if they retire, they're going to start volunteering and, having big roles, doing things like that in retirement. But, whatever your next is going to be, it's still a difficult emotional and physical transition. So give yourself grace. And if you've got family members and you're in that sandwich generation, talking with, a lady, Sue, the other day, and I said, how's your sandwich going? And she's right there. She's right there in her late 50s, and she's, taking care of her dad, who's had some serious health issues, and he's getting older and, near 90 years old. And then you have, a child and grandchildren that you're kind of, bridging the gap. And when there's some health issues and challenges on both ends of that sandwich, I mean, it gets to be kind of tough. So great wisdom, though, is just to make sure and kind of, check yourself. Prayer can be a very easy solution, but, listen to the podcast. I definitely encourage you to do that at Beyond the Badge, and or give us a call, and we'll make sure to send you a link, 352-251-1015, or you can go online at mycampbellandco.com, because it truly is beyond the numbers, beyond the money. There's a lot of emotion to all of life's changes as we get older to get ready to go to and through retirement.
Well, Jackie Campbell, as always, thank you. Thank you for the information. Thank you for the education this weekend. And one more time, if it's on your mind, we invite you to reach out to the team. There's nothing wrong with asking the questions about your life's work, about your money and your retirement. 352-251-1015. We're always available at mycampbellandco.com. We're back next weekend, but before we get out of here, Jackie Campbell, let's give you the final word.
Most of us are really good savers, especially the Gen X and the baby boomers. I mean, we were taught by some of the best savers. But giving yourself the permission to actually retire when you can afford to retire and you want to retire, not until you have to retire. If you're looking for clarity, confidence, and direction and want to make sure, am I going to run out of money or can I afford to retire now? Give us a call. We'd love the opportunity to talk with you and go through that 360-degree retirement roadmap just for you and your family. 352-251-1015 or online at mycampbellandco.com. This is Jackie Campbell, certified financial planner and certified public accountant of Campbell Company Wealth Advisors and CPAs. Join us again next time on Beyond the Money Radio and the Beyond the Money podcast.